This is Greg from Chemical Guys, and today I'm going to show you how to fix paint scuffs. So today we're working on how to fix paint scuffs. Now, a lot of cars out there have paint scuffs, or what's also called paint transfer. So what is a paint scuff? A paint scuff is when a car actually touches another surface and takes off the paint from that surface. So imagine that this car right here was driving in a parking lot and it accidentally got too close to one of those white or yellow poles and it slid right against it. So now this car slid right against one of those white poles that have white paint on it, and then all the paint actually got scuffed onto the car itself. Now on the camera, and a lot of people might see this and notice that the paint is actually missing, but the paint isn't missing. It's actually white paint transfer from the actual other pole. Now this car hit it pretty hard when it took it down, and it actually removed some small spots on the paint, so it has light paint chips. But I'm going to go ahead and remove all of this paint damage and this paint transfer to make it look a lot better. So if you've accidentally come in contact with a yellow pole or a white pole, or you've come in contact with a wall that had painted surfaces and you didn't damage the paint, you can easily pull that off using a few chemicalized products. Now this car actually had it right here, right where the rear quarter panel meets the door, and at the back bumper. So today I'm going to show you two ways on how to fix the problem in just a few seconds. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use one of our Chemical Guys HexLogic Orange cutting pads. Now this is a hand polishing pad because I'm going to show you how to remove it by hand. A lot of you guys out there don't have a machine, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to do, but the Chemical Guys HexLogic hand pad is going to make it easy. Plus I got two compounds here. Now you also need a compound to try and fix this out. Some people might try using wax if it's a light paint scuff, but these ones hit it pretty hard and it's actually embedded into the paint a little bit, so I'm going to use a compound. So I got my V34 and my V32. I'm probably going to use the V32 by hand, and I'm going to use the V34 by machine. And I also have a Porter Cable 7424 XP here with a 3-inch pad on the top, and I got a 4-inch HexLogic Orange pad. That's what I'm going to use to do the back bumper. So I'm going to show you two ways to do it. You can do it by hand or machine. So if you have a Porter Cable, it's real easy to do. I recommend to use it with a Porter Cable. If you don't, you can do it by hand. That's absolutely no problem. I also got some green Workhorse microfiber towels here. These are our Chemical Guys 16 by 16 Workhorse microfiber towels. Pick these up from our showroom. They're 16 by 16, extra soft. They're great for doing hardcore work, just like removing these paint scuffs. So a lot of people see this and they actually think the paint's actually missing, but it's really not. This is actually paint scuff, and it's going to come off very, very easy. We're going to probably get 95 to 99% removal, but we're not going to be able to fix this missing paint chips. This looked like it happened a few years back because the missing paint is actually starting to have rust in it. So if you accidentally swipe a pole and you get white or yellow paint on there, make sure to get it off fast, because then you can easily cover up any type of missing paint with any touch-up paint and then buff it down. So let's first do this. Now I'm going to take my hand polishing pad and I'm going to take my V32 and I'm going to shake up my V32 to get started. Now if you're unsure if it's paint transfer, go ahead and try to do this first, because if you do remove the paint transfer, you can actually avoid removing any type of damage from the paint without having to get a repaint. So let's go ahead and put a lot of polish on there. I want to go ahead and use a good amount because I'm going to go ahead and spread this out. Now after I have it spread out, I'm going to go ahead and start working it into the surface. Now I'm putting a good amount of pressure on there to try and remove the paint transfer. And it's removing a good amount. You can see I have this scratch on the door. I'm going to go ahead and start trying to remove it. And it's coming off. You just got to put a good amount of effort into it and use the power of your hand. Now I have to use V32 because my hand's not as strong as the Porter Cable machine. So because of that, I need to use a stronger compound to make it worth polishing it out. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit more on there. When you're removing paint scuffs, you actually have to use a lot of polish, a little bit more than if you're just removing light scratches, because you actually have to use the friction of the polish to remove the scuff. I'm going to work a little bit more on the scuff on the door, but I actually almost have it gone, so that's a real good way to know that we got it gone. There we go, I'm working on my last little bit right here. Got a few more scuffs, but they're all coming off, which is really cool. Okay, now I ran out of polish. Compound doesn't have a long work time. The work time is very short, so I have to add a little bit more. Remember, we're removing heavy paint defect on there, so I need to use a little bit more polish. And I'm watching it go away, which is really cool. Okay, so now that I got all of the paint scuff pretty much gone, I'm gonna go ahead and take a microfiber towel, take off my tag, and I'm gonna go ahead and buff off any extra residue. And there we go. If I got a little bit of residue inside your door panel, you can either open up the door, or you can go ahead and use the corner of your towel. You can swipe right in there and remove it all in one easy swipe. I'm gonna go ahead and open the door in a little bit to give that wipe down, but look at all the paint scuffs are actually gone. Took off all the paint scuffs off the door and off this quarter panel lip, so it looks a lot better. Now this car still has some missing paint right here, but that's because it hit the pole very hard when moving at a very high speed. If you do this at a low speed, or you just tap the pole and accidentally scratch it, it's all gonna come off easily. Now this one has missing paint. We can't fix the missing paint, but the owner can go ahead and touch the paint up and do a touch up on there. It's gonna look good. But we're easily able to pull off the scuff marks, so that's the easiest, quickest way. Now I'm gonna go ahead and grab my polisher and we're gonna move to the back, and I'm gonna show you how to do the same thing with a machine in a lot faster way. Let's go to the back. So now we've moved on to the back, and I'm gonna show you a second way on how to remove paint transfer or paint scuffs. Now over here, the paint scuff is much more severe than the front because this is where the main impact was. You can tell the driver was backing in, he slid on the pole, and then hit the front as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove all the back with a machine polisher. Now you can do this by hand if you're at home, you don't have a machine. I personally recommend to use a dual action polisher or a rotary machine because it'll make it fast and easier if you're a professional or you're a do-it-yourself with a machine capable. So what I did was I took a Porter cable and I put a 3-inch backing plate on the machine, and then I also threw on one of our 4-inch HexLogic polishing pads. Now this is an orange light cutting pad, and this is gonna go ahead and pull off all of the paint transfer and the paint scuffs in one simple pass. Now because the machine is much more powerful than the hand, I don't have to use a heavy compound like V32. I can go ahead and use V34, which is kind of like a hybrid compound polish. Still gonna pull off the paint scuffs and still gonna make it look a lot better than before. So I'm gonna go ahead and shake up my V34, and then I'm gonna go ahead and open it up and place a few dots on my pad. Now just like the front, you have to use a little bit more polish or compound when removing paint scuffs. So most of the time, if you've seen the other videos, we only use about 3 or 4 dots. This time I gotta use a full 5 or 6 because I need to go ahead and spread a lot of polish so it cuts down on that paint transfer. What we're actually trying to do is take off paint that's on the car that's embedded into the pores of the stock paint. So let's go ahead and throw the cord over my shoulder and let's spread it out a little bit. And then I'm gonna turn my machine on speed setting 1, spread it out. Now I'm gonna bump it up to speed setting 6 and I'm gonna try to remove it. This might take me 1 or 2 passes. If the V34 doesn't work, I'll straight up to V32. So let's start trying to do it. Okay, so you notice just a little bit of machine time actually took off a lot of the paint scuffs. There's some harder ones right here. I'm gonna add a little bit more polish to try and work it. It took off the paint scuffs. We still have some missing paint right here, but that small amount of missing paint is much smaller than having a huge white paint scuff right across. So if you can, be careful when you're driving in parking lots or parking garages. If you tap one of the red, yellow, or white poles, be very careful. You can still tap it and you can clean it up, but just be careful you don't take off too much paint. Now the owner can always go ahead and touch this up with paint touch up, but at least we don't have a big, huge mark on the side, which is really annoying. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more polish. to my pad, and we're gonna go ahead and polish some more. Okay, once again, down to speed setting 1. The hardest part I see is up here and right at the bottom. It's a little bit tough, so let's keep going. Okay, speed setting 6. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab microfiber towel and I'm gonna buff off any residue, and all the paint scuff is gone. Yeah, there's still some missing paint right here, but that's a lot better than having a huge scuff mark on the side of the car and the front of the car. That's one thing that was really making the car look horrible, is that big scuff mark. So now I showed you 2 ways on how to remove scuff mark by hand or machine. Scuff marks and paint transfer are super easy to remove. If you see them on a car, go ahead and get them off. You can do it by hand or machine. It only takes a few minutes and it really makes the whole car look good. If you want to go ahead and protect it afterwards, go ahead and throw a coat of sealant or wax on the front of it, and it's going to protect it and keep it looking great. If you got any more questions about detailing, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have over 500 videos on how to detail everything from Lexus to the Mercedes, to remove paint transfers, clean wheels, everything. Check it out, learn how to do everything on our channel. You can also subscribe to our Facebook, our Instagram, and our Twitter to find out more news about Chemical Guys and our awesome detail garage. Be sure to check out our website, chemicalguys.com, for the greatest detailing products. But always remember, have fun, stay clean, and keep on detailing.